What's going on, YouTube fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. Being known in the streets is unfortunately a goal for a lot of young men growing up in certain environments. Having that clout to be considered a shooter or someone not to play with, it gets you a certain level of fake love, in my opinion, and false respect. A lot of times that clout comes with a price though. How many times somebody from around your way with a name in the streets gets jammed up? Whether they beat the case or not, you hear people say, yeah, Lil such and such jammed up. And somebody else says, yeah, that sounds like something yo would do. They say that with no kind of information at all, because that person with the name becomes known for certain actions. Not to mention having a target on your back, whether by the police or other street dudes. Now you become a prisoner to your own street activity. Association in any environment is vital. We all here watch the company you keep, because you might be guilty by association. That means on every level. If they are beefing, you might get caught in the mix, because now you are known as they mans. Or if they hot with police, you become a hot boy too. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we will take it back to 2016 to discuss a case of 3 young men encountered with each other in broad daylight in downtown Baltimore that went left. In 2016, Derek Jackson had a lot going on. After just a year earlier being labeled Baltimore's public enemy #1, being accused of a hit of a man named Jamal Green, who was shot in the intersection of North Pulaski and Vine Street. Allegedly, all fingers pointed to Derek, and he was indicted on the counts of first-degree murder and handgun violations, with the state calling the young man a known BGF member. Prosecutors were hot on his trail, but in the mix of the case, a witness who said they saw everything will recant their statement, leaving not much for the DA to go on, and the charges against Derek was eventually dropped. Fast forward to 2016, he now had a baby on the way with his girlfriend. On December 5th, they took a hack to a doctor's office on 16 South Utah Street. During that same day, 23-year-old Tavon Coakley was also in the area with his grandmother, visiting his brother who just had been shot at the University of Maryland. After being at the hospital for a minute, Tavon decided to step out and head towards Lexington Market. Back at the appointment with his girl, Derek told her, "I'm hungry. I'm about to hit the market." Also talking about Lexington Market. It was a little after 12 p.m. After leaving his girl at her appointment, Derek bumped into her associate named Vincent Barefoot. As the two chopped it up and walked towards the market, Tavon was headed in the same direction. When Tavon hit the corner, he crossed Fayette Street, headed to the 100 block of North Utah, when Derek and Vincent saw him, allegedly while the two walked side by side. Vincent took a blick from his coat pocket and slid behind Derek. Tavon now right across the street from the men. They all caught eye contact. As they got closer, Vincent upped the gun and Tavon took off, trying to get out the jam. 12:40 p.m. in downtown Baltimore, witnesses, cameras, and police everywhere. But for whatever reason, while Tavon was trying to get away, shots went off, striking the man. In the commotion of people fleeing, a Baltimore City officer saw Tavon stumble in the alleyway. The officer was on feet and ran behind the young man, noticing he was hit. He tried CPR, but unfortunately, Tavon stopped breathing and was pronounced gone at the scene. Derek, by this point, was back at the doctor's office with his girl. As he entered the room, he told her they shooting outside. I don't know what's going on. Not too long after the appointment was done, the couple left, and back on the scene, Baltimore City police were looking for evidence. Shell casings were on the ground, and witnesses said they heard up to 4 to 6 shots and 2 men running. Being a popular area for locals and tourists coming through the city, cameras were everywhere, including 2 security cameras mounted on North Utah Street. At that time, they were operated by the Hippodrome Theater. While waiting for the footage, they notified Tavon's grandmother the young man had been hit, and when she was in shock, he only stepped out to walk for a minute. A few days would pass when police released the footage to the news, showing a man wearing a jacket and black hat, who they identified as Vincent, and a man wearing a gray hat identified as Derek. Detectives told the public they caught the whole incident on surveillance and saw Vincent get behind Derek so Tavon couldn't see him. Then as he got close, up the blick. As Tavon and Vincent started their encounter, Derek started walking the other way before shots went off, and video showed men fleeing, who police pointed out as Vincent and Derek. They were now suspects and were wanted. Families of both men were shown a video in which members of Vincent's family pointed out the fact that was him in the footage, but they didn't know anything about his shooting. The man often hung out downtown and could have been there for many reasons. Detectives also figured out Derek's girlfriend had an appointment that same day, and already being labeled public enemy number 1, they headed to talk to her. She stated she hasn't saw the man since the appointment and had no idea of what happened, other than the news and Derek coming back in the room that day of the incident stating they shooting outside. Police left the young woman, but a few days later, Derek reached out to her and stated he saw his face all on the TV and he was thinking about turning himself in. She asked where he was at and he gave her an address. She put it in her GPS and it was 4 hours from Baltimore City. The young lady headed to pick up Derek, and she was surprised when she got there and Vincent was also in the location, along with another man. Without saying too much, they headed back to the city, even being pulled over in the surrounding counties, but just to receive a warning. They were headed to an apartment in Park Heights, but police already had the area locked down, searching cars like they already knew the men were around, eventually taking both Derek and Vincent into custody. In 2017, the case started making its way to trial. Prosecutors' main evidence was the video footage that showed both men walking and also Tavon crossing the street. But when it was time to view the actual encounter, the state told the court the footage got messed up somewhere in the mix, so prosecutors only was able to keep certain parts for the trial. It was painted as a robbery attempt on Tavon. Vincent was convicted of first-degree hit, use of a firearm, and commission of a crime and conspiracy. He was sentenced to life plus 20 years. Derek was found guilty of first-degree hit, conspiracy, accessory after the fact, and premeditated murder. He was sentenced to life, all suspended, but 50 years. Rest in peace to Tavon. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to his family. It's crazy how he was just visiting his brother, who just had got shot, and unfortunately stepped out in the same streets and lost his life. What's wild is, it was broad daylight downtown. I don't know if it was a robbery, because if so, why shoot, knowing there's cameras and police everywhere? But I guess in the moment, people don't think. Derek was already hot and labeled public enemy, so I feel like any association with street activity, they was already on him. Only these 3 men know what really took place that day, whether it was street beef, a robbery, or something deeper. But now, 3 men are gone, 1 to the streets and 2 in prison. I wonder, do dudes ever think, like, yo, I'ma just chill, cause I know I'll probably get caught if I do this and go to prison forever, or have a body on my hands, and I could just walk the other way. But that name and reputation that most out here strive for is usually they downfall. Now that name only holds weight in prison. But hey, that's the Baltimore way. Man, crazy story, you feel me? Rest in peace to Tavon. Y'all heard the story. I ain't gonna talk y'all head off with this one. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Remember to definitely be respectful. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. It's all love, fam. This is another episode of the Baltimore Way. This your boy Tony 2 times. I'm out.
What's up, fam? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of the Baltimore Way, I'll be telling the story of Carlita Coleman. She was last seen hanging out with a group of former friends from high school. She was found in a wooded area 3 weeks later. But before we get into this video, welcome if you're new here to our channel. Please feel free to subscribe, click that notification bell to get notified every time we upload. If you're rocking with the content, don't forget to hit that like button. Share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch until the end to hear the full story. All right, let's jump right into it. Carlita Coleman was not your average 21-year-old. She had lived through a lot and lived in foster care for 12 years before moving out of her foster mother's home in Catonsville. Carlita and her birth mother had a bond and loved each other dearly. After Carlita moved out of her foster mother's home, they both lost contact. Carlita was described by her foster mother as a follower, but she had a free spirit. Carlita loved to dance and loved school. Like any average young adult trying to navigate through life, Carlita was in the beginning stages of finding herself while having fun in the process. On Thursday, October 15th, 2015, Carlita met up with some old high school acquaintances and a former friend at Westview Neighborhood Park. Once she arrived, the group of friends had already been hanging out. The get-together started around 2 p.m. Carlita's former friend, who I'll call Rhea, was there along with Rhea's brother, who I'll call Justin, and Justin's girlfriend, who I'll call Michelle. Rhea's ex-boyfriend and Justin's good friend was also there, 23-year-old Terrence Newman. Rhea and Terrence had dated for over a year. Rhea's and Justin's other brother came by at around 4:30 p.m. and was there for about 30 minutes, but left just as Carlita arrived at 5 p.m. Records say throughout the afternoon, Terrence was the person providing the group with the drinks. Earlier during the gathering, Terrence brought a bottle of slightly watered-down vodka. Terrence, Justin, and Michelle shared the bottle. Rhea didn't drink. When the bottle was empty, Terrence made a trip to Walmart and purchased a bottle of wine. However, the wine bottle was corked, but no one there had a corkscrew. So Terrence decided to break off the neckline by hitting the bottle against a nearby tree. The break, unfortunately, was well below the bottle's neckline, and about half of the bottle spilled out. They were left with barely a pint. The final resupply to keep the party going was 2 big gallons of vodka. The music and the vibes would go on. Now, as tempting as it was to stay and hang out, Justin and his girlfriend Michelle retreated and decided to head home so Justin could catch Thursday night football. The New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons were playing that night. So by 7 p.m., Justin and Michelle left the party. And then there were 3. Rhea, Carlita, and Terrence were left. Rhea soon began to feel like the neglected third wheel as things began to spice up between Carlita and Terrence. The two had not known each other prior to that afternoon, but they did a lot of getting to know each other in that short space of time. Rhea sat alone at the table, and the new acquaintances went off to a separate table and continued getting to know each other. Rhea described the two as flat out drunk. Carlita and Terrence's lack of discretion was enough for Rhea. She ended up leaving about a half hour after Justin and Michelle left. And then there were two, Carlita and Terrence. 3 weeks would go by when Justin would see his friend Terrence again. On November 5th, 2015, at 11 a.m., Terrence arrived at Justin's home. Justin recalled that Terrence repeatedly kept saying he needed to wash his hands and he needs hand sanitizer. Justin said that Terrence's hand smelled like a dead skunk. There were also maggots on Terrence's lower pants and shoes. Next thing you know, Terrence began a confession of some sorts that was sketchy and in extremely general terms. Justin said Terrence told him he did something bad. He said he didn't mean to do it. In a statement from Justin to police, he said Terrence told him that once everyone left the park, he and Carlita went for a walk in the woods to have intercourse. But she tried to choke him, so his military instincts kicked in and he hit her and choked her, ultimately taking her life. Justin said Terrence then said he dragged Carlita more into the woods, covered Carlita's body with leaves and sticks, and then walked home. Justin said Terrence told him he had just checked on the body and found it covered in maggots. Justin said Terrence told him he buried it back with more leaves. Terrence suggested that Justin not go back to the park because the smell was getting stronger. After Terrence's grisly confession to Justin, Justin was stunned and took his concerns to his girlfriend, Michelle, at her workplace. Michelle convinced Justin that, for his own protection, he needed to bring the matter to the police's attention. So Justin did exactly that. Justin got a photo of Terrence from Facebook and then forwarded it to police. On that same day, Terrence made his confession to Justin. Baltimore County Police searched Gilston Park, where the Westview Neighborhood Park was located, at around 10 p.m. Under a mound of leaves, they found the badly decomposing body of Carlita Coleman. Terrence Newman was later arrested uneventfully and was held without bail at Baltimore County Detention Center. An autopsy identified Carlita's cause of death as homicide due to asphyxiation. There were multiple areas of bruising in Carlita's neck muscles. Charging documents said Terrence spoke with police and denied taking Carlita's life. He told police he returned to the park because he had lost something there. Even after Terrence's arrest, police were still trying to determine a motive and learn more about Carlita, who had no fixed address at the time, so police released her picture to help get answers. No one had noticed that Carlita had not been seen in 3 weeks. No one had reported her as missing. There are parts to what Carlita had going on at the time that remained a mystery. Just over a year later, Terrence Newman went to trial for the slaying of Carlita Coleman. Not only did Terrence's friend Justin get on the stand and testify of the confession Terrence made to him, fellow inmates of Terrence also testified in court that Terrence told them about the night of October 15th, 2015. Each story was pretty much similar, but a few details were different. Terrence told his cell buddy and another inmate who was present that as the party of October 15th was breaking up, he and Carlita had committed themselves to more intimate interaction. They needed to find a place as they could not go to where she was staying or his house because of the presence of their respective parents. That's how they ended up in the woods. Terrence told the inmates that they got started intimately and were making out and messing around. At some point, Carlita started to fight Terrence off and things escalated. He also told them he choked Carlita. He checked for a pulse and he didn't find one, so he discarded her body and covered it with leaves. The inmate said Terrence said he felt he didn't cover her enough and was worried about it. So over the next several days and weeks, he went back checking on her. One of the inmates also recalled a dream Terrence told him about, where he was involved with a woman, and out of nowhere, when he leaned in to kiss her, maggots started to come out of her mouth and out of her face. The defense never denied that Terrence was responsible for Carlita's passing, and it seemed like they were leaning more towards a self-defense claim, alluding to the idea that Terrence didn't mean to end Carlita's life. He was trying to restrain her and only restrain her. In the defense's closing argument, they asked the jury to freely consider whether his client was under attack from Carlita or that he had been concerned for his safety. However, that argument did not sway the jury, and Terrence was convicted on November 8, 2016, for the slaying of Carlita Coleman. Months later, in January 2017, Terrence was sentenced to life in prison. He later tried to appeal his case, but the appeal was denied. Rest in peace to Carlita Coleman. She's gone but not forgotten. My deepest condolences to her loved ones. May she continue to rest peacefully. The series of events that happened the night Carlita lost her life is so unfortunate. No means no, even after initial consent. Period. The amount of alcohol consumed played a dangerous role that night. Not everyone knows how to hold their liquor, but everyone at the party was grown and ultimately responsible for themselves. I know many may not agree, but we all must be accountable for our own actions. Maybe Carlita felt safe at first alone with Terrence. She began to sober up and no longer wanted to have intercourse and tried to get away. Terrence, in the heat of the moment, wanted to finish what they started, and things turned fatal in the blink of an eye. Fam, what do you think could have been done differently that night? Leave your thoughts on this in the comments below. All right, fam, that's it for this episode of The Baltimore Way. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm out.
What's going on, YouTube fam? This your boy Tony 2 Times, and we back with another episode of The Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story. Subscribe if you're new to the fam. Hit that notification bell for future uploads. Let's get right into it. Family disputes are pretty much common. People don't always agree or see eye to eye. Most of the time it might be a lot of arguing, even fighting if things are real bad. But in worst case scenarios, the beef might have been going on for so long and be so deep it leads to someone zapping out and really hurting their family member or leaving them gone. And when it comes to mother and daughter or father and son, it gets crazy, as most kids look up to their parents. But sometimes the parents are hard on the children, and if mental or physical abuse is involved, It's like a ticking time bomb before the parents or child completely goes off the deep end. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we will be discussing a case involving a father and son and what led up to one of them being gone and the other in prison. According to sources, Reuben Jackson Jr., 27 years old at the time, and his father, Reuben Jackson Sr., 60 years old, didn't always see eye to eye. But neighbors and friends just looked at the situation as petty family issues. Even when one day in April 2019, Reuben's mother called BPD because her husband and son was going back and forth. But when police arrived, Reuben Jr. was already gone, so no report was necessary. As Reuben Jr. and his mother were close, the young man came back home despite issues with his father. On April 13, 2019, Miss Martin, Reuben's mother, woke up, saw her son and husband before leaving out to run some errands. Returning home about 7 p.m., Reuben Jr. helped his mother bring bags in the house. Once Miss Martin looked around, she noticed the house was messy and stuff everywhere. Not thinking much about it, she told her son to help her clean up. But Reuben Sr. wasn't nowhere to be found, or nowhere in the home at the time, and he did not come home that night. The next day, as Miss Martin went to the basement to do laundry, she discovered someone laying on the floor, covered with a blanket and blood all around. After she removed the blanket, to her surprise, it was her husband, Reuben Sr. In shock, she quickly called BPD. As police arrived to the home, they noticed spots of blood upstairs, in the living room, and basement, where Reuben Sr. shot multiple times and already pronounced gone at the scene. It quickly went to a murder investigation, as they noticed cleaning supplies outside the home and the crime scene that looked like the shooting happened somewhere else. BPD quickly turned their attention to the neighborhood and neighbors, wondering if someone saw or heard anything, in which even though everybody was shocked and felt for the family, no one had any information, just prayers and condolences. BPD decided to interview the son, Reuben Jr. At first he told police he didn't know what happened to his father, but when he was searched, a bullet was found in his pocket. Reuben Jr. then told police him and his father got into an argument the day prior while his mother was out running errands, and during the altercation, he alleged his father grabbed him and started choking him. So Reuben Jr. grabbed a revolver that was close by and shot his father multiple times. As he realized what he'd done, Reuben Jr. quickly dragged his father's body from the living room to the basement, covering him with blankets and rushing to clean up before his mother returned home. Police looked for the gun, but it wasn't in the home. But Miss Martin told them she did keep a revolver around for protection. Reuben Jr. was taken into custody and charged with the murder of his father. Everyone was shocked what had happened, especially since neighbors say Reuben Sr. was a friendly neighbor and Reuben Jr. was quiet and loved his family. But as the case made it to trial, the family would reveal certain twists as Miss Martin, Reuben's mother, and Reuben Jr. and his lawyer explained to the court the family dynamics wasn't that great, and Reuben Sr. allegedly beat and abused his son since he was 4 years old, mentally and physically, even doing things to Reuben's mother in front of him and making him watch. Lawyers argued this affected Reuben's mental health, and in a lot of areas, his thinking wasn't all the way developed. In an impact statement read in court, Ms. Martin stated the loss of her husband was hard and she loved him very much, but loved her son even more, stating Reuben Sr. often told the family he would take himself out and both of them if they ever tried to leave him in the home, painting the home as a real-life house of horrors. Reuben Jr. lawyers tried to get him a 10-year sentence because of details that led to the day of the murder, but the first degree was dropped, and in 2020, Reuben Jr. was sentenced to 25 years for the hit of his father. I'm gonna let y'all tell me what's the moral of this story. As we all know, most families keep their issues in-house, no matter what happens, but how does that impact the mental health of the ones dealing with that, and how they take it out on others outside of the home? Either way, hurt people, because hey, that's the Baltimore way. Man, it's a crazy story. You know, this is a touchy story, touchy situation. Like I said, A lot of families go through issues, whether it be, mental or physical things going on, but a lot of times they keep it in-house. And in this case, they saying it went on for decades. At the time, Ruben Jr. was like 20-something years old. So this, they say, was going on for years, since he was 4 years old. So basically, I guess that one day he had enough. Allegedly him and his father got into a situation. They got into a fight, you feel me? He said his father tried to L him out, tried to choke him out, and he grabbed the blick. Now, what made this case different, his mother was on his side. His mother basically agreed to everything he was saying he wasn't wrong, saying everything had been going on for years, you feel me? But y'all know it's two sides to every story. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I said, when it comes to family dynamics, a lot of people keep matters in-house. A lot of their family members probably ain't even know the situation until it went left, until it got all bad, man. But yeah, y'all let me know the moral of this story, man. Leave it in the comments. I want to know what y'all think about this one. Y'all already know, man. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Be sure to tap that like button. You know what I mean? Definitely subscribe if you're new to the fam. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out. On YouTube, fam. This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story. Subscribe if you're new to the fam. Hit that notification bell for future uploads. Let's get right into it. Sometimes people feel like it's necessary to have a side hustle to take care of their family. Some might be legal and others might not be, like selling a little grass on the side. It seems like no big deal, but in some people's eyes, what you are doing to look out for your peoples seems like a come up to them. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, I will take it back 10 years to 2012 and discuss a case involving a home invasion and robbery that left a man gone in his own home. According to sources, Tavon Frederick was a family man, living in a house with his girl and 2 daughters. Tavon would allegedly sell a little grass on the side to make extra money. On the day of May 23rd, 2012, Tavon gave his daughters some money to go out to eat with their mother, but he stayed home. A few friends would slide through and chill with Tavon and play the PlayStation, in which one friend stated he played the game all the time. Later that day, once his homie left, 4 men, Dante Dorsey, D'Angelo Anthony, and 2 others we will call K and D, allegedly the 4 men knew Tavon and that he had a good amount of grass in the house and was planning to rob him. Earlier that day, the 4 friends had left a viewing of another friend that lost his life when D decided to call Tavon to buy some grass. The 4 men hung out in the back alley and walked around Waverly Elementary School waiting for Tavon's kids to leave with their mother, since according to friends, he only sold grass to people he knew and never around his kids. D'Angelo would later testify his chain of events and what allegedly happened, according to him. Tavon finally called him to the back door and told them he had something better than the regular grass they usually buy. He told the 4 men he wanted to show them the new high-grade product and took them upstairs to the bedroom. D'Angelo stated at this time, after smelling the product, he asked to use the bathroom, saying after he flushed, he could hear a lot of commotion going on, and Tavon asking the group where his money was at for the grass, also stating he wasn't playing with none of them. D'Angelo stated at the time his phone vibrated and he walked out the bathroom, and he was shocked as Tavon was waving a gun at everybody, saying everybody had their hands up, and he said they told him it ain't even gotta be that serious, trying to calm Tavon down. Then D'Angelo alleged they all looked at each other before Dante went for the gun. The 2 men were tussling for it, then allegedly the gun fell, one of them grabbed it, and Tavon rushed towards them, then a boom. As they shot, D'Angelo stated he ran out the house to D's car, and that was that. But that day, unfortunately, Tavon's family came back from dinner about 9 p.m. and his daughter found his body on the floor, non-responsive. She ran out screaming before BPD was called to the home on 3312 Westerwald Avenue. Once police entered the house, it was determined Tavon was gone. so a murder investigation would start. As the shooting seemed execution style, with Tavon being hit 5 times, once in the back of the head, once on the top of the head, and shots to the body. Authorities noticed a bucket turned over and empty in the bedroom that smelled like grass, a cell phone that was left at the scene that was not Tavon's, and fingerprints on the back door. Also, a TV and Tavon's PlayStation was gone. Talking to neighbors, one man stated he saw 4 men that looked suspicious earlier that day and called police, but nothing happened. Tavon's friends for over 20 years stated Tavon never used the back door, no matter what, and he wouldn't have let the 4 men in his home, so it pointed to be a home invasion. But the biggest evidence was a surveillance camera pointing towards Tavon's house from the school. It captured 4 men walking towards the alley by Tavon's house at 7:49 p.m. But then the men started walking away 1 minute later. Then at 8:22 p.m., the same 4 men walked down the alley, this time jumping the fence to Tavon's home. Minutes later, the men could be seen running. One man with a book bag, the other with a TV, back towards the alley. One witness and neighbor that was out looking for his cat said he saw the men take off running. With witnesses, surveillance, fingerprints, and a cell phone at the scene, all 4 men were charged with the murder, burglary, weapon charges, and more. At first during trial, it ended in a mistrial, with eventually K and D being acquitted altogether due to lack of evidence. But Dante and D'Angelo were both found guilty of the hit and sentenced to life sentences, all but 30 years suspended. Rest in peace, Tavon. I send my prayers and condolences to the family. More of this story, watch the company you keep, or people that's always watching what you got going on. What's small to you might be big to somebody else. And some people throwing away their life is only worth a few electronics and some grass. But hey, that's the Baltimore way. Man, crazy story, you feel me? Rest in peace, Tavon, you know? So yeah, they basically said they went to buy some grass and the deal went bad. They saying Tavon flipped out because they ain't pay him what he was supposed to be paid. And they said he whipped out a blick and then they took it from him. But then when they looked at the case, when authorities came, Tavon had bruises on his body that was consistent with somebody like hitting him. Then like I say, he got hit 5 times. So they were saying it couldn't have just been no self-defense because he only would have been hit 1 time, you know, and plus the electronics, the gang was gone, the TV was gone. So yeah, man, they tied 1 and 1 together, you feel me, and it equaled 2. It was a home invasion, you feel me? So yeah, real messed up situation at the end of the day, man. You know, they got life all suspended, but 30 years. The other 2 that was allegedly with them, you know, they got acquitted for the case for whatever reason. There wasn't enough evidence. And at first, they declared this a mistrial because they were saying it wasn't enough evidence on them too. But they ended up coming back with a guilty plea. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about this, man. This your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.